So, Mitch, here you are, this highly successful person, and you're doing things your own way, living like you want to live, and then God brings your house down.
Well, in July of '90, if anybody was in business, they'll remember that it was an economic recession. And I remember at the conclusion of 1990 that if we hadn't had this tremendous auction of a private collection, which was a very unfortunate circumstance that the person had died in an airplane accident, a friend of mine, we would have lost a lot of money that year. And my dad was the eternal optimist. He says, "Oh, it'll come back. Don't worry about it," you know. And in '91, I made some adjustments, but not enough. And in '92, it just kept getting worse. And on July 1st, 1992, after a very bad day, not knowing how we're going to make payroll, not knowing how we're going to stay in business, I found myself in my bedroom at my home on my knees. And I said, "God, I know better than to make a deal with you to have you just get me out of this." I said, "But I realize for the first time that circumstances are beyond my control, and I want to surrender everything that I've held back from you, including my business. And I don't really know what I'm saying, but I want my business to be a ministry." And I pictured moving out of the pilot seat and into the co-pilot seat, and I pictured Christ moving into the pilot seat. And I remember going to the most righteous person I knew, who was also the most accepting person I knew, and that was my dad's brother, my Uncle Daryl. And I stumbled up the back steps of his office, and I made my way to a storage room where I was going to have lunch with him. It was unfinished. There were bookshelves all across the room, and I guarantee you he had read every book in there. And he asked me a question that changed my life. He said, "Mitchell, have you ever thought about changing the scorecard of your life from money to wisdom?" Now that all my money was gone, I was really open for anything. And here's what's interesting is I grew up going to church 3 times a week, and I didn't really understand what he meant. How could I keep track of scorecard of my life? Because that's what I was always looking for, the next way to keep score. And what would that mean with wisdom? And he says wisdom is God's righteousness combined with street smarts. And I think back about the imagery there, and then this big pursuit I went on for wisdom. And I call that what the picture of the bookshelves represent, the vertical intersecting with the horizontal. The vertical is God's heart, and the horizontal is the street smarts. So to actually bring God's heart to my collector car auction world, and I needed that really badly. And Proverbs 1:7 and 9:10 say that humility, or the fear of the Lord, a total full surrender of humility and heart to Him, is the beginning of wisdom. So it's not going to happen unless I have a personal relationship with the God of the universe. And to get there, I have to bend the knees of my heart. And it's so interesting to me how the physical was such a picture of the spiritual. I had to bend the knees physically to go up those steps to get where that picture of the bookshelves, the vertical with the horizontal, was, and be asked that question that transformed my life. And I had to bend the knees of my heart to the God of the universe to live in the sweet spot of where God's heart intersects with street smarts, where the vertical intersects with the horizontal, the picture of the cross, and that's a clay heart where God can mold and shape you to reflect Him.
But your uncle, who a godly man, also an attorney, which in some people say, how could that
be? That's right.
But it was true, a great man. But he made a contract with you, which literally changed your life. Tell us about that. That's fascinating.
He had a legal pad back when there were legal pads. And he said, "Mitchell, on today's date, I'm going to ask you to memorize a verse a day, 400 and some days, the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7. And I said, "What? Do you know how busy I am? I know it's all falling apart, but I never finish a day with everything done. I travel all over the world. You want me to memorize a verse a day? How would I do that?" "Mitchell, I challenge you on today's date that you would memorize." And it's like the more he challenged me, the more I thought, well, I'll show you I can do that. And I pulled that legal pad over and I signed and I said there. And when I left, I realized, whoa, that's going to take some time. And I memorized the Sermon on the Mount, a verse a day. And I can't tell you the peace that the Word of God brought to my heart. was incredible. And the wisdom, and to wrestle with those words, and to get them in there was the first part, but then to start applying them to your life and learning what they meant, it just radically changed my life.
And it turned things around for you.
It did. I learned that the more that I got into the Word, the more the Word got into me, and it started coming out in my words. And I saw business as not about remuneration, but about relationships, not about profit, but about people. And I even put on we sent about 3 million brochures out a year, and underneath the postal and dash of each brochure, I would put a verse, usually from Proverbs. And I thought, I wonder what that'll do. Will that drive people away? Will they not want to come? And I was standing in the foyer of a collector of our office with a collector from Australia. And he's talking to me just about normal things, and he had brought a significant car to the auction, and it was going to bring hundreds of thousands of dollars. It garnered international publicity. And his finger, again, here we go again, it starts getting really close to that postal index, and I thought, oh no. He's going to be offended. He doesn't like the Bible verse. He's not going to sell his car. Well, what's going to happen? God, I thought you'd honor this. And he said, I just want to tell you something. And he touches the Bible verse on a brochure in the office. He said, I took a trip across the pond because you were a person who's willing to stand up and be counted.
Wow.
And that's what I said.
Wow.
And, God honored that. It was just amazing.
Well, we're going to show you another clip of our trip, and we're going to actually go inside the cruise auction barn and see some of the cars there, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Restoration Road. Because Derek and Mitch, it's an unusual approach. And it's not only a book, but you also have a workbook, you have a video, and we'll be talking about that in a moment. But here's what we saw when we went to the cruise auction on our last trip. Here it is. The big day arrived a bit sooner than some might have liked. After a quick breakfast, it was off to the cruise auction park for a great day with my boys.
Well, she just got done describing this car behind me as the Elvis car, the car Cadillac Fleetwood that he owned the longest, and this is going to be auctioned off with the show ring that Elvis wore, along with his personal jet, which is being stored not here but somewhere else. And they've been on the phone all morning with a couple different people that are interested. They're going to sell it for the car, the ring, and the jet. So pretty interesting.
This is Tony, and Tony, this is a very special car. Tell me about it, would you please?
Well, this is built for the firemen that lost their lives at 9/11 at World Trade Center, and it was a tribute to them and their family. And we're bringing it here to sell the car. We've had it, we had it for about 3 years, but since 2001, the car has toured the whole country, showing people the dedication to 9/11.
And actually, you have a